My narcissistic brother is accusing me of stealing his family and having something with his wife, all because his daughter said I'm more of a father to her than he is. To give you some background, I have a brother who's always been complicated. We've never had a typical brotherly relationship, but it wasn't one big thing, it was a million little things. He was always quick to get in a bad mood, quick to point fingers, and God forbid anything didn't go exactly his way. He's the kind of person who sees every small disagreement as a major betrayal. I learned early on to handle him like you'd handle a super sensitive coworker. Say the right thing, don't push too hard, and pick your battles. We never had open fights, but we also weren't really close, just brothers out of obligation. Still, I tried, especially when he married Keela. That's not her real name, obviously. She and I got along great from the start. She was pretty grounded and calm, basically everything my brother wasn't. At their wedding, I was genuinely happy for him, like maybe he'd finally found someone who could balance him out. I even planned his bachelor party when he asked me to. It was one of those brief periods where things were actually good between us, like we might actually be improving our relationship. Then his wife got pregnant. That's when the cracks started showing again, worse than before. I remember the day he told me it was going to be a girl. He looked like someone had died. No joke. He started ranting about how girls were a problem and how he was already dreading the teenage years. I told him he was being ridiculous, but he wasn't kidding. I could see it in his face. This wasn't nerves, it was resentment. And it only got worse after his daughter was born. I'll never forget that moment. I was at the hospital with my parents, cousins, and my sister-in-law's family. I got there maybe 30 minutes after the birth. Instead of seeing a happy dad, I saw him storming out of the delivery room, red-faced and angry. Later, he called me while driving home, completely ranting about how he couldn't deal with this. I told him to stop acting like an idiot and to be grateful his daughter was healthy. He hung up on me. That's when I knew he had no idea what he'd signed up for. I tried to stay positive, but it was all downhill from there. Over the next few years, things just got more chaotic. His marriage started to fall apart. There were constant fights that I only heard about through Kayla. My brother rarely opened up to me unless he wanted to complain about how hard his life was. I kept my distance, but as his daughter, I'll call her Eli, got old enough to talk and interact, Kayla started relying on me more for help. Mainly it was last-minute babysitting when my brother bailed or when they had some explosive fight. I work from home and live about 25 minutes away from them, so I became the default person to call when things got out of control, and I never minded. Eli was always easy to deal with. She's a good-hearted kid with a sarcastic sense of humor that honestly reminds me of myself. She's 14 now, but we've had a good bond since she was around 9 or 10. I never tried to take on a father role. I mean, come on, I'm just her uncle. But I was always there for her, and I took her seriously when she came to me for advice or just needed someone to talk to. And to be brutally honest, I don't think she got that with my brother. He just doesn't understand her, or even try to. For a long time, he saw fatherhood as a checklist. Provide money, show up at a few events, and that's it. To him, there was no other dad duty. She used to ask me questions like, "Is it okay if I don't feel close to my dad?" Or, "Do you think he loves me?" What are you supposed to say to that? I did what I thought any adult would do. I was present, I hung out with her, I helped her with homework when she asked, I drove her to school a few times when their car situation was a mess. I was just present, that's all. But apparently that was too much. Last night, my brother showed up at my house unannounced. It wasn't a friendly visit. He was pounding on my door around 9:30 at night. I opened the door, and I immediately knew something was wrong. He reeked of whiskey and had this wild, nervous look, and he could barely stand. I asked him what the hell he was doing. He didn't even answer at first. He just barged into my house and started pacing back and forth in my living room, muttering about how I'd crossed the line. Finally, he blurted it out. He said that he and Eli had a huge fight, something about her using his laptop without permission. He yelled. She yelled back. In the middle of the argument, she apparently yelled something like, "I wish Uncle's name was my dad." That shattered him. And I get it. That would sting any parent. But instead of reflecting or wondering how he might have failed emotionally, he projected it all on me. He accused me of stealing his daughter. He said I'd been playing the long game to replace him. Then, out of nowhere, he accused me of having something going on with Keela. What? Where did that come from? I told him to get out of my house before he said something he couldn't take back. He stood there for a second, like he wanted to hit me. Then he left. I haven't heard from him since. Kayla texted me later, apologizing and saying she didn't know he was going to come over. Apparently, Eli is staying with a friend for the weekend. It's a total mess. Now I'm stuck. I love my niece and I've come to respect Kayla. I always wanted to be the kind of uncle who's present, not just the uncle who shows up at parties. But now I feel like I've been painted as the bad guy. I don't know what to do. Do I distance myself from my brother? Do I try to talk some sense into him? Do I keep being there for Eli, even if it makes things worse? This isn't a love triangle or some teen drama. I'm not trying to take anything away from anyone. I'm just trying to be a good person to those who need it. Any advice is welcome because I'm lost. Update 1. Since some of you want to know what's happened with my brother since the last confrontation, here's the current situation. After that drunken outburst, I didn't hear anything from my brother the next day, but I didn't expect to. I figured he'd wake up with a hangover, regretting everything, and maybe reach out after a few days. Instead, Kayla texted me early the next morning. It just said something simple. Can we talk later? I'd appreciate it. I agreed, and we set up a time to meet for coffee that afternoon. Apparently, the night my brother showed up at my house, he'd already been in destructive mode for hours. According to Kayla, he was already upset even before Eli made that comment. He'd been paranoid lately, obsessing over the messages on Kayla's phone, asking her why she was always laughing when she got texts. Most of those texts had nothing to do with me. She's in a group chat with co-workers, one of whom she's known since high school. That was enough to send him into "what are you hiding" mode. Then came the fight with Eli, which was already over something stupid, her using his laptop without permission. He escalated it. She responded with the "I wish Uncle was my dad" comment, and it all fell apart from there. Here's where it gets really messed up. Kaya told me that instead of being sad or hurt, my brother convinced himself that she was allowing Eli to feel that way. Like Kayla had somehow encouraged it. He accused her of emotionally allying herself with me to alienate him from his own daughter. Like when she tried to calm him down and remind him that I've simply been present when he wasn't, he accused her of emotionally cheating on him with her brother for years. I didn't even know that was a phrase people seriously used. But apparently, in his mind, the fact that Kayla and I get along means we're building a secret life behind his back. Kayla swore up and down that she's never seen me that way. And I believe her. I told her the same thing. We've been friendly, sure, but never inappropriately. I've honestly always seen her as part of the family, and I've respected her for staying in such a difficult marriage with my brother. Either way, she told me that things have reached a breaking point, that she's tired of this situation with my brother, tired of having to defend herself for doing basic things like raising her daughter, and tired of being accused of cheating every time she makes eye contact with another human being. Then she said this. I don't know if I'm going to stay in this marriage. He's emotionally immature, deeply insecure, and refuses to see other people's needs as real if they make him uncomfortable in any way. The conversation ended with her asking me for one thing. Please don't change how you are with Eli. She said she knows her daughter needs stability and someone to listen to her, especially now that things at home are even more chaotic. I promised her I'd be there, but of course things didn't stay quiet for long. That night, I got a call from my mom. For those of you wondering where my parents have been in all this, it's complicated. They're still alive, still married, still living in the same house we grew up in. But they've always tiptoed around my brother's behavior. He was the sensitive one, the one who took everything the wrong way, so they were always coddling him while we were growing up. I guess some habits never die, because the first thing my mom said was, "Can you be more considerate of your brother right now?" I asked her what she meant, and she launched into a whole speech about how my brother has been calling them nonstop, clearly upset, saying that I've been undermining his role as a father. Apparently, he told them that I've been manipulating his daughter to hate him. I'm not kidding. That's the phrase he used. I asked my mom if she actually believed that. She didn't answer me directly, which said enough. 2 days later, I got another text from Eli, and it was short. She just asked if she could come to my house to get away from everything at home. I said yes, obviously, with her mother's permission. When she arrived, she seemed a little more withdrawn than usual. Eventually, she opened up a bit. She said her dad was still treating her coldly, like she'd betrayed him. Eventually, she opened up a bit. She said her dad was still treating her coldly, like she'd betrayed him. She's been grounded, even though she didn't do anything wrong. He's been saying things like, "I hope your real dad approves," which is just cruel. I've offered to have her over for the weekend if it helps, but I'm waiting for Kayla to confirm. I think she's trying to keep things stable until she decides if she's really going to leave my brother. To be clear, I'm not involved in any of that. I'm not some white knight coming to save the day. I'm just the uncle who's been present, that's all. I'll update again if anything major happens, but for now, I'm just trying to maintain stability for Eli's sake. Update 2. Honestly, I didn't think things could get much worse without someone ending up arrested or institutionalized, but here we are. My brother has completely lost it, and the fallout is affecting everyone, including me, Kayla, and especially Eli. A few days after Eli stayed with me, I got a text from Kayla saying she wanted to drop something off. She just said it was something important and she didn't want to talk about it over text. I thought maybe it was something she'd left at my house, but when she showed up, she was carrying a thick folder. She handed it to me without saying much and just said, "You might need to keep this safe for a while." The folder contained all the documentation of her marriage, financial records, a copy of their prenuptial agreement, screenshots of threatening texts from my brother, and printed photos of bruises from 2 separate incidents where he'd grabbed her during fights. I had no idea the situation had gotten physical. I asked her why she hadn't told me. She just said she didn't want to drag me into the mess. She told me that she'd been collecting evidence for a while, but she hadn't filed anything because she was afraid of making things worse. Now that he's getting more and more erratic, especially with Eli, she started planning her exit. Apparently, she's been talking to a divorce lawyer in secret. She gave me the folder in case something happens, suddenly. If he kicks her out of the house, if he cuts her off financially, or if my brother tries to spin a story first. This folder is her backup plan. Then she told me that my brother has been trying to convince our parents to back him in a custody battle. Despite knowing how little involved he's been in Eli's life, and despite his temper, his drinking, his violence, and his obsession with blaming everyone else, he wants full custody. All because, according to him, Kayla and I are poisoning Eli's mind. And yes, he mentioned me in this supposed custody discussion. Kayla said he told our mom that if she doesn't take his side, I'm going to turn Eli against everyone. Then came the worst part. Eli overheard her dad talking to someone on the phone. Kayla thinks it was a friend from work, and he was saying he was going to catch them making a mistake so he could prove Kayla and I were having an affair. He's not going to find anything. I'm extremely sure of that. But that hasn't stopped my brother from turning into some kind of cheap conspiracy theorist. Apparently, he's been trying to dig through old social media photos for any hint of infidelity. Kayla thinks he's even trying to install a keylogger on her laptop. She found some weird software running in the background, and a friend of hers had to wipe everything to be sure. Kayla is staying in the house for now because she doesn't want to disrupt Eli's school year, but she's documenting everything. She even bought a second phone and started recording his outbursts when they fight. Honestly, I'm scared for her. With the way he's unraveling, I wouldn't be surprised if he tries something dangerous out of spite. And because apparently this is the worst month of my life, I also got dragged into a mess at work. My boss called me into her office 2 days ago, looking concerned. She told me she'd received an anonymous email accusing me of having an inappropriate relationship with a married woman and said I'd been, let me put it this way, too close with my niece. Luckily, my boss knows me. She didn't believe it for a second, but she had to report it to HR just to be sure. I cooperated fully. I told them the whole story, leaving out anything personal about Kayla or Eli that wasn't relevant. I even showed them text messages and call logs to prove I haven't done anything remotely suspicious. They ended up dismissing the complaint completely after a brief review, but the damage is already done. My coworkers are whispering now, and someone must have overheard something because there are rumors going around. I haven't asked directly, but I'd bet everything I have that anonymous email came from my brother. I haven't spoken to him directly since the night he showed up, drunk, at my door. But now he's gone from making accusations to actively trying to destroy my life. He's just lost his mind. Anyone who makes him feel even slightly challenged becomes his enemy. Speaking of Eli, she's not doing well. She's withdrawn at school. Kayla says she barely eats, and when she's not at my house, she mostly locks herself in her room. When I saw her this weekend, she barely said 10 words in the first hour. Eventually, she told me that her dad tried to check her phone while she was sleeping. He also told her, "You'll see what a real father is when I'm done with this." Kayla has told me that she plans to move out quietly for the summer. She's looking at apartments in a nearby town and working with her lawyer to file for separation without alerting him too soon. It's a delicate situation. One wrong move could make my brother go completely insane. Now my mom has stopped talking to me completely. I tried to explain that I'm not the one making this worse, that I'm not having an affair, and that I'm just trying to support my niece. She responded with a 2-sentence text. "This is between your brother and his wife. Please stay out of it." I've been thinking a lot about my next step. Part of me wants to just walk away, cut contact with everyone except Eli. But I know if I do that, my brother will use it as proof that I'm guilty of something. Kayla will be filing the papers soon. When that happens, things are going to get even uglier. I'll update again when the papers are filed or if anything significant happens in the process. Update 3. It's amazing how quickly things can go from tense and ugly to literally insane. Everything exploded this week in a way I wasn't even remotely prepared for. It all happened after Kayla filed for divorce. Kayla officially filed the papers 2 days after my last update. Her lawyer had the documents delivered to my brother at his workplace. They chose that option on purpose, a public setting with other people around, minimizing the chance of violence or an emotional outburst. Unfortunately, he still blew up. He made a whole scene at his job. I don't know the exact details, but apparently he threw the envelope and had to be escorted off the premises. HR got involved. Kayla told me later that he's on some kind of probation while they investigate his conduct. He could lose his job. That same night, he showed up at my house again. This time he was sober, but that didn't make it any better. He stood outside screaming my name. At least this time, he was only shouting, but it was at the top of his lungs. He was saying I was stealing his family and ruining his life. The neighbors called the cops. I tried to talk to him briefly. Maybe it was stupid of me, because he was on another planet. He started asking if Kayla was with me, like physically in my house. He tried to force his way in to check. I stopped him. I calmly told him again that nothing was happening and that he was out of control. That's when he started crying. He collapsed on the sidewalk and started sobbing, telling me that he did everything right and everyone always takes my side. And I was just standing there thinking, what exactly do you think you've done right? The police finally took him away. The next morning, things got even more complicated. Eli texted me in a panic from school. Apparently, my brother showed up at her school during lunchtime. He didn't go inside, thank God, but he waited in the parking lot and tried to talk to her when she came out with her friends. She told me he was rambling about how Kayla was turning her against him, and he said something like, "You'll regret choosing them over your father." One of the teachers saw what was happening and took Eli and her friends back inside. The school called Kayla and then the police. No charges have been filed yet, but now there's an order prohibiting him from being on school grounds. A temporary restraining order was also issued against him that same day, which Kayla's lawyer expedited after the incident. Now Eli is legally protected from direct contact. That seems to have finally set off an alarm in Kayla's family as well, because they're now organizing to protect her in a way they didn't before. But of course, in his typical style, my brother isn't giving up. He's now trying to use social media as a weapon. I woke up 2 mornings ago with about 13 notifications on Facebook, Instagram, and even LinkedIn. He made a bunch of posts tagging me and Kayla, ranting about how we're adulterers, that we've brainwashed his daughter, and that family is sacred until your own brother decides he wants yours. Not only is it embarrassing and unhinged, it's dangerous. He posted old photos of Kayla and me at family events from years ago, and captioned them as if they were evidence of a long-standing affair. One of them was from Eli's birthday party when she was 6. We were standing next to each other cutting a cake, and he posted it with the caption, "This was the beginning." I reported every post. Obviously, Kayla did too. A bunch of friends did too. Some got taken down, but not all of them. And unfortunately, the damage is already done. Some distant relatives texted me just to ask what's going on. And now we're dealing with rumors throughout the extended family. Kayla's parents called crying, asking her if any of it was true. Thankfully, they believe her, but it's still humiliating. Even my work found out. Someone sent screenshots to the head of HR. Luckily, this time it worked in my favor, since I already went through an investigation a week ago and was cleared. This new attempt just makes it look like someone is targeting me. HR's response was basically, "We're aware of the situation. Keep documentation. That's all." I might have to talk to a lawyer if this escalates further, but for now, they're still on my side. The last twist in this absolute disaster. Our mother showed up at my house last night. She walked in without asking, sat down, and told me she'd just come from my brother's house. According to her, he's barely eating, barely functioning, and apparently he's punched several walls in his house. She begged me to just talk to him. I asked her what she thought I could say that would make a difference. She just kept repeating, "He's your brother, he needs you." I told her that if she's worried about his well-being, she needs to help him get therapy or professional help, not try to fix it by involving me in his delusions. She left without saying goodbye. I'm now officially the villain, in both my brother's story and apparently my mother's, but I'm standing by Kayla and Eli. We've come this far, and I'm not backing down now just because my brother can't handle the consequences. The hearing for the restraining order is next week, and I've agreed to testify if needed. I'll update again after the hearing or if anything significant happens. Update. 4. Hi, everyone. I wasn't expecting to be back with an update so soon, but here we are. The court hearing was last Tuesday. I arrived early with Keela and her lawyer. Eli stayed home. Her testimony was submitted in writing since she's a minor and wasn't required to appear. The courtroom was quiet. It didn't feel like a place where your entire family could fall apart in real time, but that's exactly what happened. My brother walked in without a lawyer. He fired the one he'd originally hired, apparently because they told him the truth he didn't want to hear, so he decided to represent himself. Yes, it went exactly as you might imagine. He came in looking disheveled, like he hadn't shaved or slept in days. His opening statement, if you can even call it that, was basically a rant about betrayal, how everyone turned against him, and how his daughter had been brainwashed by me and Kayla. The judge cut him off after about 3 minutes. Keela's lawyer focused on the facts. She documented the threatening texts, described the incident at the school, presented the social media posts, and mentioned the disturbance at his job and the uninvited late-night visits. I was called to the stand briefly to confirm some of the events, but it wasn't anything dramatic, just direct answers to direct questions. Then came the moment that really broke something inside me. When the judge read aloud Eli's letter, she wrote about how scared she felt when her dad cornered her at school, how she used to wait by the window when she was little hoping he would show up, and how he almost never did. She wrote about how much easier it was to breathe at my apartment, how she could think there, and how she finally felt like she wasn't walking on eggshells. She ended it by saying that she still wanted a relationship with her father, but only when he was healthy and honest. I didn't look at him while the letter was being read, but I heard him. He was crying. The judge granted a 1-year restraining order, protecting both Kayla and Eli. He instructed my brother to undergo a psychological evaluation and complete anger management before any future requests to lift the order would be considered. The judge also mentioned that if custody ever becomes an issue, these proceedings would absolutely be taken into account. He didn't even argue. Afterward, we went outside. My brother stayed behind, sitting alone at the defense table. We haven't heard from him since. His social media accounts are still active, but everything has been deleted. It's unsettling, honestly, like he's vanished. Part of me still expects him to reappear and explode again. But so far, nothing. Kayla can finally breathe. She's moved to a new place, smaller, more manageable, and closer to Eli's school. She's still going to therapy and has started documenting everything as part of her preparation for the divorce proceedings. She's also started working part-time again. Eli seems lighter. Obviously, there's still trauma. She's only 14, but I see the difference. She even asked me to help her apply to a summer leadership program she's excited about. I admit I was scared for a while that all this chaos might permanently damage her, but she's a strong kid. I think she's going to be okay. As for me, I've had to make some decisions to cut contact completely. Not from Keela and Eli. I'm still here for them. I always will be. But from trying to fix things with my brother. There's no way to fix this. I lost years trying to be the one who calmed things down, the one who smoothed everything over, the one who held the pieces together after every tantrum and meltdown. I did it out of obligation and guilt, but I'm not doing it anymore. I've blocked him from everything. I told my mother, who still thinks this is just a bad chapter, that I won't attend any family events where he's present. Update 5. Things have been quiet for Kayla and Eli. At least as far as my brother goes, there hasn't been any more tormenting from him. In these months, the divorce has been finalized, and as expected, Keela received full custody of Eli. Even Eli has decided not to see my brother, her father, for a while. The divorce wasn't easy, considering my brother is an unstable person, but at least it's over and they can lead a much quieter life. In this time, I've been dating someone, and Eli gets along with him very well. I went from being the fun uncle to being the boring one because I'm not a girl, but I'm okay with that. I'm not jealous of my boyfriend, and I find it positive that Eli makes friends. As long as Eli and Kayla are happy, it's enough for me. My brother is a completely different case. He hasn't been happy at all. In addition to the divorce and losing full custody, he also lost his job. Not only because of his attitude the day he received the papers, but because he has become erratic in recent times. My mother didn't get him the help he needed, which is what she should have done if she was so worried about him. Speaking of that, for those who said I should worry more about my brother than about my sister-in-law and my niece, I did when we still had a relationship. But after he accused me and tried to sabotage my work, any possibility of reconciliation disappeared. I'm even glad he lost his job. He deserves to learn that messing with someone else's job is a very serious thing, especially when that person hasn't done anything to you. Maybe now he'll realize that you don't play with those things. To further complicate things in his life, he has also alienated our mother. He has shown up at her house completely drunk and accused them of being on Keela's side as well, all because they visit his granddaughter. My father tried to kick him out, although my mother wanted to give him coffee to sober him up. My brother accused my father of also being interested in Kayla because everyone seemed so concerned about her. My father replied that they weren't worried only about Kayla, but about everyone, including him, but made it clear that he does nothing but destroy his life and the lives of those around him. That has been my brother lately. Update. 6. 5 years have passed, and a lot in my life and in the lives of the people I care about has changed. For example, I'll soon be getting married. My fiancé has said yes, and now all that's left is to plan the wedding. It won't take long because it will be something very simple. Kayla has also started a relationship, and although I've seen him only a few times, he seems to be a genuine man who cares about her and Eli. At least Eli tells me good things about him. Although I see my niece little now, since she's gone to college and it's not the same anymore. But we talk via text from time to time, and she seems happy with everything. But here, the important thing is my brother, who has decided to check himself into a clinic to receive treatment. In these years, he has developed many problems and never wanted to treat them, but he has finally decided to ask my parents for help, and they have given it to him. My relationship with my parents is still complicated, distant, I would say, after everything that has happened. That's why I didn't even discover this hospitalization through them. Still, I'm glad my brother is receiving treatment, whatever it may be, if it helps him improve. I don't know what I can expect from that treatment, or what his current mental health state is. We haven't been in contact for years, not even at family events since I said I wouldn't go if he was there, and I kept my word. Still, I don't think this is going to be a quick process.